Welcome to Mr. Biz Radio, Biz Talk for biz owners. During the next half hour, Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth, a leading business advisor and two-time best-selling author, will cover topics that'll help business owners run their companies more profitably and more efficiently. If you're ready to stop faking the funk and take your business onward and upward, this show is for you. And now, here's Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth.
All right, welcome to the show. It is your good old buddy, Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth. And this week we've got another unique perspective. I think, again, we've been doing the show for over 5 years now. We always try to come up with some new angles, some new versions, different ways to think about things to really keep us on our toes, thinking outside the box, looking for new ways to be more successful, more efficient, more profitable, all those sorts of things. And this week's guest, I'm 100% certain, is going to help us with that. We're going to talk this week about energizing your business with energetics. You might be saying, what the heck is energetics? What are those? What, I don't even know what that means. Well, then you're definitely going to want to watch the show because we have an expert in the field of energetics. We have Miss Dana Lord-Lewis. Dana is a maverick thought leader in the realm of energetics, like I just said. As an authority on energy and manifestation, Dana's mission is to help her students achieve their full potential and the life they want to live through her unique framework to understand and change energy patterns. Whether she is helping clients to dismantle fear-based behavior, we've all been there, change interpretational tendencies, easy for me to say, or shift energetic patterns. We always can use that, right? We always run into these things. You have a tough day, you have this or that, you've got to shift those patterns. Dana points to the mechanics of human energy with accessible strategies to help her clients unlock their full potential in life. And what else do we all want, right? Whether you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or even neither of those, this is something that will apply to everyone. I think will be very helpful. So Dana, welcome to Mr. Biz Radio.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so pumped to be here.
Yeah. So again, this is one of those things I'm excited about this because of course we've not had this, in 5+ years of doing the show, we've done, 300-400 shows. We've never talked about energetics. And that's why when you and I first connected, I'm like, oh my gosh, she has to come on the show because this is another unique perspective and a way for us to be, again, just make our lives better overall. And so with all that, let's get started first though, Dana. Tell us about your entrepreneurial journey. What got you to where you are now with your company, Energy Think, et cetera? Go back as far as you want.
Okay, I won't go back too far other than to say that the family I grew up in was very much a traditionalist one. My father's parents were from Britain and very traditionalist. All my uncles and cousins and grandparents, basically on his side anyway, were either lawyers or engineers, every one of them, except for one that was like the black sheep who was a consultant. And so my father was also a lawyer, and it was drilled in me very young that I had to have a good work ethic and had to come up with some kind of profession that made sense and that was worthwhile. And there weren't very many to choose from. And so anything that deviated from that was a little bit, subtly discouraged. And so there wasn't a lot of entrepreneurial pursuit around me at a young age. In my later years, other people in my family started to branch out. My uncle did a lot of entrepreneurial endeavors. My mother did as well. My sister's now an entrepreneur. But initially, when I was formulating what I was going to do with my life, up until 19 or 20 or whatever, there was no chance of that. So I went the route of being a lawyer. I worked at a large white shoe law firm in Manhattan. I did that to make my parents proud and to, live in New York and succeed as best I knew how. But it was very clear from the outset of embarking on law school that being a lawyer was not what I was meant to do. The education was unparalleled. I would always tell someone to go to law school if they asked, but the actual practice of law was very much, it's very antithetical to anybody who has an entrepreneurial spirit, as I'm sure many people listening to this agree. Mm-hmm. So that was a lifestyle that wasn't sustainable. There's no flexibility, no freedom. And at all times, I knew there was going to be something next. And the next was kind of like a stepping stone. It was a hybrid of what my true passion is, what I'm doing now, and then, which was this idea that it had to be, in line with certain ways of thinking. And so I ended up starting a business that helped corporations manage their legal fees, ironically. And there was a lot of demand for that, and it did quite well financially. It was actually quite a success. I had a lot of big clients in Canada. I moved from New York to Canada. And then I realized how much I hated it, and that I had to do something more worthwhile for myself and for my essence. And I stumbled upon a realm of reality that was very different than that which I had previously been a part of, and which was definitely in a category which we would probably call alternative. I stumbled upon understanding this idea of energetics. It all kind of, it's been a pathway. It's taken a while to get to what it is now, which we'll go into, I'm sure. But I did get introduced to this idea of energetics around the time that I was starting up this other company. And eventually it just became clear, look, if you're not going to be passionate about what you are doing, then it will not succeed. That is one of the things I've learned being an entrepreneur. If you are not passionate about it, I don't know how it can succeed. And if it does succeed, you'll be more unhappy than you were before you did it, if
Agreed.
You don't enjoy it. So I ended up winding that up. I ended up moving shop. It coincided with my relationship with my husband. So I moved in with him, and I deleted the job, the business I'd started, and I started a new one. And that is Energy Think, and that's where I am now.
Interesting. So you kind of alluded to it, but I want to delve a little bit more into that. So you went from being an attorney, being a lawyer, to now, your company Energy Think. And I know it sounds like, you kind of were trying to follow the path that you thought your parents wanted you to do as well. But did it just evolve as you kind of alluded to? So maybe I'm kind of answering as I ask the question, but did it kind of just evolve as you could see that eventually that was your passion and what you wanted to do?
Well, I believe that everyone knows deep down the answer to that, even if they're at different stages in that journey for themselves. I mean, if you're doing something that you are meant to be doing, you are feeling that. You are feeling empowered at all times, even when it is so hard. It is just the right thing for you to be doing. And if you're not doing the thing that your heart and soul wants to be doing and is screaming to do, you feel that at every moment, even if you suppress it, even if you distract yourself from it, even if you have a big win, there is a hollowness to it. It's not in alignment, some might say. Some might use that term. So at all times, it was very much, it was part of me to know that working at the law firm was not what I was meant to be doing. However, it was meant to be an evolutionary step in the journey. So I always knew, but I did not know how good it would feel to actually do the thing. And that, if for any listeners who are in this position, I empathize with you, and I'm sure there are some, because how many of us are there out there doing things that are making us a good salary, that are giving us security, that are giving us prestige or whatever it is, but doesn't hit the bill in terms of fulfilling your heart. So to those people, it feels really good to do what you love.
Yep. Well, look, we're going to hit a break here real quick. We'll come back, Mr. Biz Tip of the Week, and we'll continue talking with Dana Lord-Lewis.
Business owners have a continually growing to-do list with little time for revenue-producing activities. With Check Off Your List and their experienced team of virtual assistants, you can focus on growing your business. Visit checkoffyourlist.com to learn how Check Off Your List's skilled team can handle your day-to-day tasks like social media, bookkeeping, calendar maintenance, and much more. Contact Check Off Your List at checkoffyourlist.com or call 888-262-1249 to see how their virtual assistants can help you live to work rather than work to live.
Thank you for listening to Mr. Biz Radio. Did you know our show airs 7 days a week for more than 30 hours now? If you are in the B2B space and would like to reach thousands of business owners every week, including our more than 250,000 social media followers, our thousands of daily internet radio listeners, Our email list fans and Mr. Biz Solutions members, email us at info@mrbizsolutions.com to become a sponsor. Tap into Mr. Biz Nation to help grow your business.
Check out both of Mr. Biz's national best-selling books, Pathway to Profits and How to Be a Cash Flow Pro on Amazon. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show. And as we always do at the beginning of the second segment, we're going to share the Mr. Biz tip of the week. I'm sure everyone's on the edge of the seat for this one. This week's tip is commitment is the necessary fuel for achievement. It honestly tangentially relates to a lot what Dana talked about in the first segment is, you have to have that commitment. And how do you build commitment? The passion. If you're doing something, and I call it, you're faking the funk. You're doing a job to earn a paycheck. You're not doing a job that you love. And so that's a Mr. Biz tip of the week. Aside from that, and I wanted to tie back into this, Dana, I love what you said, and I can 100% relate to it. So my corporate career was fantastic. Loved it. Loved my job. I mean, it ebbs and flows, right? There were some crappy parts here and there, but overall, I had a fantastic corporate experience. But I just got to a point where I just knew I wanted to be able to help more people, expand what I do. And I knew that wasn't going to happen in the corporate world, despite continuing to ascend up the ladder and all that good stuff, as you had mentioned, and the prestige, the success, et cetera. But what really related, what you said and resonated with me personally was when I branched out on my own and figured out what I was going to do. I resigned, didn't even know what the heck I was going to do next, figured it out. And once I started to do it, I was about 2 weeks in, and I'm telling you, it's like a scene from a movie. It's going to sound so cheesy, so corny. I was driving home from a client, and I'm on the highway, and it's like this, this aha moment, like the birds are singing, the sun shine like super bright. And it's like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is 100%. This isn't work for me. And again, I know that sounds very cliche, but I absolutely freaking love what I do. I love it. And it's funny, you mentioned before too, and I'll talk to people that I used to work with in the corporate world. I still have a lot of friends, obviously, at JP Morgan, and I'll go to lunch with one of them and they're like, how's it going? And I'm like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I wrote this book and I'm doing this. And I got this radio show. And they're like, oh my gosh, how much are you working? And I'm like, I don't know. They're like, you got to be working like 50, 60, 70 hours a week. I'm like, probably sometimes. They're like, do you take Saturdays and Sundays off? I'm like, generally, yeah. I said, but I pretty much work. It's some form of work 7 days a week, right? It might only be an hour or something like that, but I love what I do so much so, Dana, that you'll probably love this. In the evenings, I have a sweet spot in the evenings. Once I get home and I'm in my home office or I'm at home, the kids go upstairs, they get their showers, they're working on their homework. My wife goes upstairs after dinner. She has her shower and everything. And that to me, most people are going to be like, what? I'm like, I wait for that. And I'm like, ooh, I got like 20 minutes. I can run into my office and get something done. Because I freaking love what I do. It's not like work. And that's what, when my buddy asked me, he was like, how many hours do you work? I go, I have no idea. He goes, what do you mean you have no idea? It's got to be terrible. I'm like, no, because it's not work for me. I like what I do so much that it's not work.
Yep. I understand.
Yeah. So anyway, so tell me a little bit, let's talk about your company, Energy Think, which again, you can find out more information about them at energythink.com. That's energythink.com. But so, I know you use energetics. How does that energetics apply to business? I guess let's start there.
Okay. Well, first off, let me just give a bit of a definition, because I think that obviously we're talking about energy, but people don't know what energy is, because energy is everything. And you can talk about it from the perspective of crystals, or you can talk about it from the perspective of quantum physics, and you can talk about it from any perspective. So we need to understand what we're talking about here. So I have called this applied energetics. That is what Energy Think specializes in. And applied energetics is how the understanding of energy impacts your ability to create what you want for yourself in your life, to attain your goals, to attain your ambitions. How can energy actually be understood, and then once understood, harnessed and used and utilized to help us achieve our goals? That is what Energy Think is That's our mission. So does that kind of frame it a little bit simplistically?
Yeah, no, that's good. Complete side note to that. I was talking to someone earlier in the week, and he was asking me about, who do you have on this week, on your show, and what are you guys going to talk about? And I told him I was having you on. I said, we're going to talk energetics. And the first thing he said, and you may get this other times, he's like, did you mean Dianetics? The whole Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard thing. I was like, no, I did not say Dianetics. I said energetics. That's nothing to do with it.
Actually, I usually get genetics.
Oh, okay.
No, it's energetics. So the thing is, energy is not it's not a contested fact. Okay. Everyone kind of has this vague understanding that energy is a thing and that quote unquote, everything is energy. If you actually speak to a physicist, somebody, not a quantum physicist, but just a physicist, somebody who understands, why, a ball falls, or how to, heat up a kettle, and if you talk to anybody who understands just classical physics, you'll understand that energy is quantifiable. Okay. Energy, the way it behaves in nature, in our physical universe, it is a quantifiable thing. You have various energetic systems all over. You as a body, you, Mr. Biz, you are an energetic system. A light bulb is an energetic system. A flower is an energetic system. And essentially an energetic system simply is one that uses energy in a certain way to manifest some outcome, right? A light bulb shines, and in using this energy, it also loses energy. So energy comes in and energy goes out. And once you start to study how energy behaves on this real micro fundamental level, you'll understand how it applies to every layer of reality the same way. So people spend a lot of time trying to understand themselves, right? There's a huge industry out there for self-improvement. There's a huge industry out there for overcoming people's limitations, and we'll talk about that a bit more when we get to our tips. But usually people are trying to understand themselves psychoanalytically or emotionally, and this can be very challenging because we're using ourselves to understand ourselves, and that's kind of like looking through a very unclear glass to see something. Like, you can't really understand yourself fully, and to try to understand yourself psychoanalytically gets very challenging. But if you can understand energy and the basics of the quantifiable aspect of it, so look, I'm going to take in energy somehow, and I'm going to spend energy somehow, and now I just have to understand how I take it in, and I have to understand how I spend it. Once you get that, you can apply the energy that you do have to work with in ways that are much more efficient and that allow for things to actually come into fruition, because energy is the genesis of manifestation. And I can explain that more if it doesn't make sense, but I'll stop there.
Yeah, no, I think that's, so I'm glad you did that and actually kind of went a little bit of a different direction, because you're right. I think defining it and kind of scoping it a little bit better, because as you said, people can talk about energy all the time in all sorts of different forms. But I think as we're trying to talk about it here in regards to being a better person, funneling your energy, et cetera, and in your business as well. So I think it was good that you kind of framed it that way. I want to make sure, I was going to say, we got to hit a break here, but I want to, I guess, what show was that? They said, let's put a pin in that.
Yes.
Let's hold that one for a second. We'll hit a break here. We're going to come back. We're going to get some tips from Dana on how we can manifest that. We can use that energy and push it in a positive manner in our businesses and in our lives. So come back after the break on Mr. Biz Radio.
Are you ready to automate your business? Automation is the key to scaling a business and building wealth. It's also one of the most difficult things for a small business owner to do on their own. If you're looking for help with automation, Pulse Technology CRM can help. We have an exclusive offer for Mr. Biz Nation. We will build everything for free, even if it's a sophisticated funnel. Visit thepulsespot.com/Mr. Biz for this exclusive offer.
If you find listening to Mr. Biz Radio is helpful, imagine having live access to not only Mr. Biz, but also 5 other trusted business experts. It's true. You can have live access to your very own CFO, plus a business attorney, a website and digital marketing expert, a sales and growth guru, a financing professional, and a customer experience master. Visit MrBizSolutions.com to learn more. Join Mr. Biz Nation at MrBizSolutions.com.
To submit questions to the show, email them to info@MrBizSolutions.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show. And I want to apologize for kind of cutting us off there, Dana. I want to make sure we hit the break and everything like that. But again, I appreciate you kind of defining that. I think that's a good baseline for everyone because, again, people are like, energetics, what is this? Again, applied energetics, things like that. I should mention again real quick before I forget, to learn more about what Dana does, what her company does, how they can help you, go out to energythink.com. That's energythink.com. Find out all the information. I was out on the website playing around about a week or so ago. And then actually this morning, there's tons of information out there. Really good stuff there. But so Dana, let's pick up where let me pull the pin out, where I put the pin in and talk about, what are some tips you would have on how to use applied energetics in our businesses, in our lives to better, make ourselves better.
Okay, so I will get to my tips,
Okay.
but I want to frame them. I want to give it a little bit of context first, just so that people
Fair
have
enough.
people get a little bit more interested in this notion of energetics. Because if you look at people around you, anyone in your life that you consider to be really impressive or successful, or any of the luminaries that we look at in our lives. If you take a very successful person, if you take Elon Musk, let's take Elon Musk, and you look at him and you look at what he is accomplishing, and you look at the orbit that he has created for himself, and you look at the monetary value of his company, and you look at the fame and etc., and the kind of confidence he has in his own ideas and his own visions. You look at that, and you look at that versus somebody who is obviously struggling with getting themselves out there and is experiencing fear. I mean, I'll put the question to you: what's the one thing that holds us all back? It's probably going to be a universal answer. What would you say it is?
Yeah, I mean, the answer I would say is fear, but I think a lot of people don't admit that.
Absolutely. So fear. So here I'm going somewhere with this. So our energetic capacity, our capacity for reaching those levels, like an Elon Musk level, every single person has a capacity for greater accomplishment, however they view that accomplishment, however their higher self or their deepest self wants to achieve in this life. Some people want to become the world's greatest horticulturist. Some people want to become the wealthiest person in the world. Some people want to just have a really sustainable business. Whatever it is, that is the dream. They need to be able to have enough energy to make that happen from an actual flow through standpoint. There needs to be enough energy directed to that goal, both consciously, like doing it day by day, thinking about it, etc., but also unconsciously. There needs to be not a lot holding a person back. A person needs to be able to get over the things that would otherwise hold them back. Okay. So we're all positioned with various energetic capacities, and that is defined by the amount of fear we are holding around these notions that we carry. Does that make sense? Are you with me for now?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's all about taking the steps towards free flow of energy from what you want consciously in your mind and in your heart, what you've been able to connect to, and the external world, the perceptual experience, the real world manifestation, if you will, if you want to use that term.
Yeah.
It's all about getting that free flow of energy and walking away from, taking steps away from that which blocks it. So there's a lot of ways to do this. There's a lot of ways to do this. But what I would say is the number one tip I would suggest is creating a a world around you that you see on a daily basis, which expands your own energetic capacities, which puts you in touch with, on an hourly basis, other people out there, other symbols, whether they're other people or other things, that connects you to those higher levels for yourself. And there are lots of ways of doing this, but mostly it has to do with who you surround yourself with and who you listen to and who you become identifying with, if that makes sense. You want to be expanding yourself, your consciousness, as much as you can, as often as you can, to make it so that your subconscious, your unconscious mind, which otherwise might hold you back, realizes you're there too. You're at the same level as these other people. And then things fall in place and organize themselves around that understanding of yourself. You are more confident when you present your pitches. You have a certain je ne sais quoi, a certain gravitas when you walk into the room, and people want to orbit around you. They want to surround you and treat you as someone that they want to be with, because they see that your energetic levels are higher than theirs. You become someone they look up to. And you do this by continuously expanding your own capacity for growing and ascending.
Look, as you were talking, I was really starting to think about, especially when you brought up Elon Musk, I started to think about, like you said, some of these mega successful people like an Elon Musk, et cetera. And I started thinking about, are there any of those people that you would see, or I would personally describe, or I've heard anyone describe and say, man, he or she is like a lump, like they're just nothing. Like all these people that I was thinking of, like a whole long list as you were talking, I'm like, I can't think of one person that at least, and success is different things, not just all money, right? Other types of success. There's no one I could think of that's like, man, that person's like a lump on a log. Like they're just nothing. Like it's like, oh my gosh, please talk faster. All these people that are successful that I could think of have energy, have a lot of energy, and have that, as you mentioned, that sort of that energetic power that kind of draws you in and makes you want to be around them.
Yeah. And it goes deep. I mean, in my programs, we start off kind of on a more horizontal plane, meaning we start talking about, like I said before, how energy works, how you can intake a lot of energy for yourself, and how you can conserve your own energy. Because socially, there are so many ways that people eat each other's energy. A lot of people try to dominate each other energetically and win, sort of psychologically, which is essentially energetically grabbing from each other. So we learn how to, not let that happen. But then the next level is, okay, how do you connect to that greater source? Because there's a vertical source of energy. And if you look at these people that you were just talking about, if you look at these people who have done extraordinary things, they are connected to something that is not of the man-made world. And some people get a little bit spooked by that. They think, okay, wah wah, they think woo woo or whatever. But I mean, anyone who thinks that man created themselves has really a little bit of deeper thought to look at, because
Right.
we didn't. And there is something there that, Einstein tapped into. And so people can do that. You can foster a relationship with this deeper self, this deeper knowingness, this source of energy that does not have to come from other people or external validation, but comes from this really magical place. And when you cultivate that, and when you also prevent yourself from giving that energy away to other people who are trying to take it from you through guilt and shame and stupid stuff like social status and bullshit, then you are directing serious energy towards your business. And business is art. I mean, that the way you were describing your day where you realized what you were doing, that is like a channeling of something divine. And when you look at good art, that's what the artist did. They channeled something divine. And when someone is in connection and alignment with what they really want to be doing, what they love, and they are able to do it without fear, then they are channeling something divine. It doesn't matter if you're selling widgets, doesn't matter if you're, selling cheese, doesn't matter. If you're doing it like that, then you're an expression of that higher power. So you really want to get in touch with that.
Yeah, look, we're out of time here, but it's I feel like we talk about this for days. I'm sure you could, but you've definitely intrigued me a great deal, learning more about this and what you can find out, again, more at energythink.com. Dana, thank you so much for coming on the show. You shared a tremendous amount of information, and I know we've just scratched the surface, but I love the fact that we've exposed everyone to sort of some new things.
Thanks, Ken.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening. And don't forget, as always, cash flow is king.
This has been Mr. Biz Radio. To learn how to become part of Mr. Biz Nation, visit MrBizSolutions.com. For access to free weekly content, subscribe to the Mr. Biz YouTube channel and follow him on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. To listen to archive shows, you can find them on the Mr. Biz Solutions website.